Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. I am really excited today. I've got a very special guest, Michael James. He is the owner of Michael James Remodeling. They're located in Gainesville, Georgia. I had the honor and the privilege of getting to spend a little time with Michael. Like a week or two ago? He was at our Job Tread boot camp here in Dallas, Texas. Got to know him. Just really incredible story. Excited to have you on to Builder Stories. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks, Eric. It's been what a pleasure to be here, an honor, and just an amazing time we had at your boot camp, just learning about Job Tread. Came back super excited to share what we had learned. So really excited to go out there, spend some time with you guys, as well as be on your on the Builder Show.
Awesome. Well, why don't you give us a little background? Tell us, a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into construction? What led you to start your business here?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So 27 years ago is when I started my business back in 98. But prior to that, I always loved to just work with my hands. When I was a kid, my parents would not give me basketballs and footballs and things like that. They would give me chop saws and skill saws and table saws. And I didn't know what I was doing, at that age, but I just loved to work with my hands and had the opportunity to work with some master carpenters at a really young age, learned a lot of aspects of just construction in general, and jumped out there on my own, asked them if they would support me, be willing to help me out in doing things. They said, yeah, Michael, we'll support you. And it's been 27 years. I haven't heard a thing from them since. So I just had to figure it out on my own. But throughout the last 27 years, it's just been a journey of, I really thought that growth would just naturally come because you just had a desire for growth. I didn't really know that there was so many other pieces of the pieces of the puzzle like mindset, goal setting, intentions, all of those things that really just help really guide you, and having an ultimate goal, trying to put a direction into a GPS, what direction you're going to go. And so that's what at first, I didn't really know to do that. And it wasn't until about 6 years ago, I really set those intentions. And once I set those intentions, Eric, it was just like the light switch went on. I never knew that I was missing that piece of the puzzle. And so putting people in my path and going to conferences like yours and different things really helped put me on the pathway to looking at my big goal and going, there's no reason why it can't happen. It's there, it's out there. And so now it's just been the journey of, what does it take? Building the right team, building the culture, making mistakes, falling flat on my face. But I think more than anything, Eric, it's been just the journey, how fun it's been of just figuring things out. And even going to your boot camp and going through your office and seeing your team, seeing how you've built your culture, I come back and go, we got to do this, we got to do that, let's do this, let's do that, to really, you're 1 or 2 chapters or 3 chapters ahead of us in this book of entrepreneurship. And so it was really cool to be there, be a part of it, hear a little bit of your story, and I came back super excited.
Awesome. Yeah, it's being an entrepreneur really is a journey, and there's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenges. You face them all eventually. But yeah, super interesting to see. I mean, again, you've been at it for a long time. So tell us just kind of real quick. So what types of remodels are you guys doing? The types of projects, kind of average job size, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a full design build remodeling company. Most of our projects, we're we're positioned around a very popular lake in Georgia. So a lot of tourists that come to the lake, a lot of second homeowners that are living there. So it really attracts a luxury level side of clients. And so we've really put a lot of focus into that. I would say our average remodel is sitting around 250,000 right now. We've got some that are in the millions, some that are in the tens of thousands. We don't typically say no to projects. We let our process and our value and everything determine for a client what direction they want to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and would it be appropriate for me to go out and venture that you didn't always have that size of project? I mean, I can only imagine a $1 million remodel is one hell of a job for you.
Absolutely. I guess it was maybe about 4 years ago. I was so excited to do $100,000 remodel. I'm like, I have hit the golden ticket. And even then, it was like the challenges that you faced in doing that, the upscaling of doing things, bringing on at that particular job, we brought on a new software and navigating through that and even telling the customer, oh, look at this portal you get to access. And it was a total flop. I mean, it was a flop, but it was the start, right? Of just little by little tackling one item and going, let's do this and master that. And then let's go to the next item and let's master that. And, looking back over the journey of 5 or 6 years of doing this now, I have to remind myself that 5 years ago, my goal then was like, I want to be a $3 million company. What amazing feat that would be. And then 6 million's like, and even at times getting discouraged because I'm not at what I really want to be at, but reminding myself that I am walking in my dream right now. I'm walking in what I set 2 years ago and 3 years ago. And sometimes I get distracted, of like, I'm not hitting that number I want to be at, but taking a step back and going, no, I really am. I am walking in that dream.
Yeah, that's awesome. And having that realization, I really think is so important to just help you appreciate, that this isn't like I'm done, or I hit my goal, or I missed my goal. It's about, the journey of doing it, and realizing that, like, every day we're taking more steps forward, but we're continuing to grow and we're continuing to improve. And I think having that, that again, that focus and that appreciation of, this is the journey we're on. This is the lifestyle we've chosen. It does sometimes help sort of, tamp down some of those like pressures that, really are self-inflicted pressures. But, again, we all want to push ourselves to do more and do better. And, I think it's about, also being able to stop and realize, man, look at how far we've come, and you see the road behind you that you've traveled. I mean, it's really powerful to be able to have that perspective.
And the lives that have been impacted in the journey, the employees that have come and their life has changed, their life is transformed. As we transform somebody's home, there are team members and clients that we're able to impact. And sitting back and seeing those things unfold in front of you, intentional or not intentional, is like so fulfilling to be able to go, wow, look at the lives that we were changed. It's not about just the money aspect. It's not about filling your pockets with things. Heck, Eric, you probably like me. We would probably quit a long time ago if it was about filling our pockets, right?
Yeah.
But the impact and the difference that our efforts and our sweat and blood and tears have created, and with the hope and goal that, it won't be so stressful at times or so intense, but being able to see lives transformed, it's just really super special.
How do you think you came to, realize this and appreciate this?
That's a great question. You know, I think I transitioned in 2019. I had spent that 20 years of having a business, and I just was, again, wanted it. I wanted big stuff, but I wasn't really doing anything about big stuff. But what I was doing was some big stuff personally. I rode my bicycle across the United States twice, but on one of those journeys, I was broken, Eric. I had gone through a divorce. I had just life just hit me, and lost everything I had through the 2008 downturn in the economy. And I had to, I had to make a decision then to rebuild. And I wasn't going to let a circumstance change the outcome. And so I started rebuilding. And I finally pulled myself out of the slump and again accomplished all these great things on a bicycle. Rode my bike from Canada to New Mexico in 23 days. It was like all this cool stuff, right? But then I looked at it and I go, if I can do that on a personal level, what can I do on a business side of things? What legacy can I create and leave whenever I want out of the picture and it to be carried on? And that was really the point in 2019 where I made that conscious decision. And the first thing I did was I hired a coach. And I was sitting across the table from this potential coach that I was interviewing. And he asked me a question. He goes, "How much money do you have in your savings account?" And I told him, and he goes, "If I can quadruple that in 1 year, would you let me do it?" And I go, "Of course, that's a no-brainer. Who wouldn't?" And he looked at me in the eyes and he goes, "So do it." And I was like, oh man, this guy means business. But right then, Eric, it was like I pushed all the chips into the poker table, and I was like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to want this more than the oxygen that I breathe. And so that's been the journey. And so it shifted from accomplishing all these great things personally to intertwining personal and business as one and going, I am going to make a difference. I am going to create a legacy, and we're going to make an impact in our industry, and we're going to transform our industry. That's what it boiled down to.
I love it, man. It gets me fired up thinking about that. I mean, I don't know how you made it across the country a couple times, but on a bicycle, I mean, that's that is quite the impressive feat there. I mean, just the mindset that like you had to have to not quit. Like, I mean, I probably ride a couple miles and be like, all right, where's the bus pickup, but
Sure.
that's I love how you translated that from your own kind of personal experience to applying it to your business and saying, I am devoted to this, and we are going to achieve these goals, and we're going to grow, and we're going to make the biggest impact that we can. And, again, I see that same, relentless, like, pursuit to accomplish that you obviously had, when you're doing it on your own personal journey. So it's super neat to see that. I love it.
Well, and it was, to me, the phrase that I keep relying back to when I was riding my bike across the states. I had to just keep pedaling, regardless of the things I faced, regardless of the weather, regardless of getting run off the road at one point by a car, finding myself passed out, hit an embankment, firefighters coming down into this embankment rescuing me. But I had to make a decision to go, just keep pedaling. And that's what it is for you and I as entrepreneurs. We get hit with circumstances, with life issues, with you name it, right? And we have to wake up and go, I just got to keep pedaling. And whether it's 10 miles today or 100 miles today, you just keep pedaling. And so I've just taken that message of that bike ride and that journey and the times I did want to quit. and applied that to business and go, I am going to be faced with wanting to quit. I am going to be faced with discouragement. I am going to be faced with setbacks. However, those are all temporary. It's just temporary. You know, the next day is a new day, and you wake up and you go, you know what? I'm going to conquer today.
I love it. I think, probably one of the obvious things that, from, an individual perspective to, a business or, kind of a team is that with the business, like you have the option to surround yourself by others, so can you tell us, like, what has it been like? I mean, even going way back, like, what's that journey look like as you've built the team around you? Like, have you always hired people? Did you, make some of the wrong hires? Like, how have you thought about, building the team and what is that done for you?
Yeah, and that's such a great point. We're actually reading a book collectively as a team by John Maxwell, the 17 Irrefutable Laws of Teamwork. And I'd say the challenge with that is I've had to go from a me perspective to a we perspective and set the ego aside and set the pride aside and listen to other individuals. And even when I may not agree with it, sit back and go, let them do their thing. If we get to the end and it's still the same results, we're good, And so it's definitely been a challenge because I'm a go-getter. I want to be in control. I want to do it myself. And I want to look at individuals and go, you can't do it as good as I can. But it has taught me how to slow down. It's taught me how to be a better leader, to allow individuals to succeed and then go, now, how can I help them succeed? How can I create a launching pad and a runway for them to have that same success as I've had, and also realize I can't get to this $100 million goal without them. There's no way. You wouldn't be where you're at without the team. No way I can do it without the team. So it's a daily, not a challenge, but it's a daily awareness for me to go, make sure you're bringing everybody together, that everybody is learning and going in the same direction together, and letting them experience the setbacks, letting them experience the hard times, but also being there to encourage, to support, and be there to listen to them.
Absolutely. I hear it all the time. And I know from my own personal experience, like, I think as entrepreneurs, one of the hardest things to do is to let go and to delegate and to trust, that your team and the people around you, will be able to execute and deliver. And it's just like, it's such a hard thing because, like, we know at the end of the day, the buck stops with us. And so we want, to do it and to do it right. But, like, as you grow and as you scale, like, it's just not physically possible. As entrepreneurs, like, we cannot do everything, even though we want to.
Right.
We can't keep putting on every single hat. You've got to be able to find people, recruit people who are better than you and put them in the position to be able to deliver, even more than you would have been able to do, in an ideal world. But, like, you've got to be able to trust those people. And I think it's just so hard to do that. But when you can have that leadership mentality and when you truly care about developing your people and having them, be able to learn and have those experiences, sometimes our best learning comes from trying and failing.
Sure.
And I think if you don't give people that opportunity, then they're never going to reach their full potential.
Right.
And I think in general, it'll hold the company back, because, again, we as entrepreneurs and leaders and owners, like, we can't do everything ourselves.
Sure.
We've got to build that team and we've got to motivate them and give them, the ability to take ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a challenge, to go, let them thrive, let them do their thing. You want to step in, just like our kids, when our kids are growing up, you want to, like, let me show you how to do that. Don't do it that way. You got to let them experience that. You got to let them have their moment, even knowing that they're going to fall flat on their face.
So how have you gone about trying to recruit and build a team? Like, where do you where do you find your people? How do you know when the right time is to hire someone, and how do you know they're the one?
Yeah, that's a great question, and probably an answer that I'll always be searching for, right? I One thing I've really tried to live by is hire slow and fire fast. And I've gone a couple different approaches in hiring. And in the beginning, when you don't have the funds, you don't have the resources, you can't afford the rock star employee, but you need somebody. You need somebody to just handle tasks and to be able to delegate. And so, in the beginning, I hired cheap. And when hiring cheap, that means I didn't get the skill. So I had to teach. And sometimes that's worked and sometimes it hasn't. What I've seen is as we've grown, people have to be willing to grow with you. And if they're not willing to grow with you, you outpace them. And then you're faced with, I've got to let this person go because they cannot keep up with the same pace. And so the effort that I have put into this is really showcasing the importance of every individual creating value and every individual growing as the company grows and never staying at one place. And as we grow to 100 million, I have to change. If I knew how to get to 100 million, I'd be there, but I don't know how. And so I have to make changes. And if I have to make changes, so does everybody else have to make changes. And so that's what I continue to show to the individuals, always create value. And also help them understand that it's not necessarily about Michael James Remodeling. It's about what value they can create and have for themselves. And if Michael James Remodeling is just a stepping stone for their next future, that's okay. If I can be a part of that, I'm honored. And one quick little story, I had one employee that worked with me 19 years. And he just recently moved back to his country, started his own business. And when he first started with me, he's like, Michael, I'm going to work with you 3 years. And then that 3 years came and went, and he said, 3 more years, 3 more years. But now he's got a little company down there, and I feel like I was a part of it. I feel like I helped him in that journey, even though it was a big bummer to see him go, right? He was such a genuine person. He was such a hard worker. But I believe that I was able to be a part of him in his own growth. And so I've just developed that philosophy of I'm here to help serve. I'm here to help teach. I'm here to help others. And if I'm part of that journey for a long period or a short period, I'm grateful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what that says to me again, like you must be a really great talent scout, because you're not only looking at who they are today, but who they have the potential to become. And are they coachable? Are they moldable? Can you train them? Will they have that hunger and that desire to learn and grow? And those are absolutely the best people, because like at the end of the day, like we never know what new skill or trait or software or technique or whatever it may be that like we're going to have to learn. And when you have a team of people that have that natural desire to continue to improve and develop themselves, and that hunger for learning and growth, like those are the people that are going to be awesome at taking on whatever new challenge you throw at them. And they're going to do it with excitement and, ease. And so I think that's like great, a great trait to look for in someone, is really understanding like that desire, that passion, that hunger. I love finding people that have that passion in their belly. Like you cannot pay someone to be passionate. You cannot train someone to be passionate. Like they either have it or they don't.
Right.
And man, when you find those people and you can just, unlock their potential, like they just like soar, and I think it's great to find them.
And I think it's real important on the front end when you're doing those interviews to share that passion, that direction, where you're going, what you're looking for. At that point, I'm asking them permission to hold them accountable for their goals, their personal, professional, and their financial goals. I'm asking their permission because once they're on, it's like, we're doing this together, and there have been times, Eric, I could see it on the faces of these individuals when I'm interviewing and going, yeah, they're not interested. They don't want that accountability. They don't want those commitments. And it's really a good thing because then you realize really quickly who's a good fit and who's not a good fit, And one other thing that's been really cool, I would have never in a million years considered hiring family. There's all the stereotypical things that go behind that and the failure in that. But I currently have, I think, 7 family members that work for me now.
Wow.
And it started off with my sister. And my dad had passed away 6 or 7 years ago. And my sister was living in our hometown where he was. And we had our family house that we needed to remodel and sell. And I was like, you know what? Why don't you just remodel it and I'll coach you? This was on the coast of North Carolina. She's 8 hours away. And so she did, and I coached her through it. And I go to our last, right before the house sells, to look at it, to say our goodbyes. And I'm looking at it through the remodeling filter going, wow, she did a good job with this. Like, it's pretty cool. And I started asking her then, I'm like, why don't you come and work for me? This is my vision. This is where I'm going. And the train is starting to move fast. Like, why don't you get on board now? It took her 2 years to come on board, and she did. I mean, and she has been a rock star, Eric. And that led to another my sister's husband. He came on board. I've got nieces and nephews that have been on board. I ended up hiring my older sister as my operations manager, and it's just been really cool. Not that we don't have the dynamic of family and all of that, but it's also given me another opportunity to impact their lives. It's given me another opportunity to also, how can I grow and not allow family to create any sort of dynamic that's just not appropriate or doesn't fit with the growth. And they know that it's like, this is the direction we're going, family or not. And so it has created different challenges, but it's been really, really cool to look at it and go, wow, I would have never guessed this would have been a family business. But now I look at it and go, wow, this is pretty cool, to really be able to see that. And then them coming back to me and going, Michael, this is what you've done for me. This is the difference you've made in my life. It's been a really neat journey.
Yeah, that's exciting hearing another story where, it has worked. I mean, I probably hear, 9 out of 10 times the story of, it didn't work out when they hired their family. But, I think I shared with you, my dad, he was my CFO, my last company, CFO of this company, and I think that, again, as much as it might not work for a lot of people, when you can figure out how to make it work, and you can learn to appreciate and respect each other, and you can't just have that same, we're gonna lash out at each other just because we're family or whatever we might have done. Like, you have to learn how to be able to respect and be professional and communicate in that company environment, versus I think more things may go back in the home, but like it's been the greatest reward and journey of my life to be able to work with my dad. And people always used to ask me, well, what's it like working with your dad? It's like, well, one, I get I'm his boss, but two, I mean, my whole life I grew up and he was the boss, right? But I think the other thing is, like, we've I used to describe it, it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. Like, 80% of the time everything's good, we're loving each other. 20% of the time we're going for the jugular, but like over the years, like, it really did, like, I would say kind of boiled out to, 98, 99% of the time, it's all good. Yeah, we sure have, our disagreements from time to time, but like when you can learn to make that work, like I just love that, like, I've been able to meld this, like my career, my life, and then my family, and have that all in one. Like it makes that journey that much more rewarding. And like, there's nowhere else I would rather be than being here building this with my dad. And I think the other cool thing about it, and it sounds like this has probably even had a bigger impact for you, is like you can instill this, like this notion of family into your culture. And I think it just has this like underlying tone of love, and just genuinely like looking after people and helping people and bending over backwards for people, because you truly, truly care about them, and you care about their success and their development. And so like I just, for us and both of my companies, like we've always had that family feel to our culture. And I think it has been because of my dad and I. I mean, would you resonate with that as well? Will
Oh,
that ring true?
absolutely. It's so rewarding to, you know, look back at it and go, one, it really does. As an entrepreneur, it teaches you how to be a better leader. You're going to have so much more opportunities to have those negative moments. And when you can learn how to work through those with a family member, it's golden with the rest of your employees. Your family, they're always your family. You can't fire them as your family. They may not work with you as the company, but you can't ever fire them as a family member. And so it really challenges you to make sure that you're always protecting that.
Yeah.
And if you're protecting that, then it makes it easier to me to really treat others within the company. Even it just makes it easier.
Yeah. I think, as you heard, one of my favorite sayings is, may the best idea always win. And I think, people, when they've seen, my dad, he don't care what role, what people are in, like, he would push back on my ideas that he thought, weren't the best idea. And I think that sort of helped others to also feel more comfortable and confident, like, challenging things. Like, I think it's very important that people have a voice. Like, that's why you're on the team. We want you to speak up, and we want you, to contribute. And so, just this whole notion of, oh, well, he's the boss, the CEO or whatever. Like, I hate that. Like, I want this to be as flat of an organization as possible. I am your peer right next to you. Just because I came up with an idea doesn't mean it's the right idea or the best idea. Like, let me know your thoughts. Like, let's talk as peers, and let's just remove this hierarchy and all that other crap. Like, just tell me what you think. Cause like, I think you might know better than I do. So, I think it's just nice to be able to have, that those people. And, I think your family just naturally feels more comfortable pushing back, against you, but then it encourages others. And that, I think, ultimately does create this very healthy dynamic where communication flows a lot easier, a lot more naturally, when people feel like, they can share and they can contribute and they can give feedback. Sometimes it's hard for people to feel comfortable. And I know it can be hard for leaders to receive that feedback. I encourage people to go out and solicit the feedback. Go ask your people, hey, how could I improve, as a leader? How could I do a better job? And like, not only will you get great feedback, but like the respect that you will earn from your people by asking them is invaluable. I mean, it'll shock them first.
Sure.
And then, when they really think about it, it might take them a couple days to actually come back with some, deep thoughts. But like, man, like it really truly helps everybody grow when you can have those types of conversations and those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. We've incorporated a lot of those opportunities with the team of just giving feedback. And, you and I as business owners, it's easy to pull the I'm the owner card. I've got the name on the sign or whatever, but that's not what we're building. We're to be able to look at our team and go, wow, look at their willingness to be vulnerable and share a weakness possibly, and giving them that opportunity, as well as seeing their own growth. When my sister first came on, she was a little mousy. She was a little, Michael's been doing this for so long. Who am I to come in and have a voice? And now I'm like, can you like soften your voice a little bit? She's like, yeah, we're doing this and we're going to do this. And when I look back at it, I'm like, this is exactly what you want. You want, to your point, Eric, you want an equal playing field where you've got all these ideas to really help take us to that next level, to help take us to that growth point that we're all desiring for. And it's really cool when you slow down enough to go, wow, look at their growth.
Yeah. So, you've also, you talked about how you and the team are reading a book together. I love that. We've done that here at JobTread as well. What else, from a culture standpoint, would you say, you guys have been able to implement that has really, created that strong bond, that really strong culture that, has kept people there. I mean, a 19-year, employee. I mean, that is a testament to what type of company you have built and the team and the culture that you've created. It's like, what would you attribute to, how did you create that?
That's a great question. I believe part of it has just been being accessible, as their boss, just having an open door, being willing to just listen and then incorporate little things like having luncheons, having get-togethers throughout the week, having opportunity where we all can come together. Every morning, we do a call on Zoom where the whole team has got to get on for about 10 to 15 minutes, and we share a win from the previous day. And that has really been cool to see our field staff and our office staff come together. And with our industry is such an easy division of field staff and office staff could go weeks and never see each other except for to pick up a paycheck or something. And so doing things on a regular basis to bring that unity together, as well as once a week, early in the mornings, I have an opportunity with all of my carpenters where 7:00 in the morning, it's open for whether they want to come or whether they don't want to come. But for about 2 hours from 7 to about 9, we build something together. And nice. So right now we're working on building some playhouses, one for a little girl, one for a little boy that we're going to gift at Christmas. And it gives me the opportunity to put my nail bag on and be a carpenter, which I just love. But also it gives me an opportunity to mentor. It gives me an opportunity to spend time with my guys. And then it gives our design team an opportunity to be a part in designing something. And then it's going to eventually give the whole team an opportunity to impact a child's life. And so trying to create things that bring things within the team together once a month. With this book we're reading, all of our leadership is assigned to go over 1 to 2 chapters once a month with the whole team. So we're reading it all together, and then once a month we'll sit down and we'll talk through it all collectively as a group. And some leaders within the team get very creative with an exercise of team building. Others get more, like myself, I'm not very good at like the exercise aspect. I'm really good about more of inspiration and sharing people through my stories. But once a month, we're coming together as a group going, this is what we've learned through this book. And there's so many great authors out there that we all can learn from. And I encourage my team to either suggest a book or I'll collectively will come up with a book on the leadership team that we all can read together.
That's awesome. I love that. I mean, again, the book reading and like, are your carpenters also reading the book?
Absolutely.
Wow. All right, that's awesome. The field, everyone. And you said, so is it's every single morning your whole team comes together on Zoom?
Yeah, every morning. So every other Monday we'll have a company meeting, and then we come together on a Zoom call and just share, just not a whole lot of time, 10, 15 minutes. Everybody just kind of goes through and they share a little win of the previous day. And if they don't really have a win, they may share, I did this or I did that on the job site.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I just such a cool way to again keep people feeling like they're part of a team, they're together, being able to just see each other when you're right. Like, I mean, you might not see the crew, all week or,
Right.
for, until they come in to get that paycheck. Some of the office people won't even interact. And like, I love that idea that like, because like, they're busy, they got to be out there on the job sites, but like, you still want to have that touch, that opportunity to touch base and like,
Sure.
and to hear, and for them to share their wins, like that's such an important thing that like, people need to be recognized and just acknowledged for their hard work. And if you don't find a way to do that, then, sometimes it can feel like they're not being noticed. They're not, that they're not appreciated. Like just that act of like letting, people share their wins is so valuable. And I think that really does create that strong bond, with everyone on your team that like, it helps them start the day with, with a great positive experience.
Right. And it's really been neat also. There's been times where our carpenters have been on the job site and it's time for the Zoom call. And a client will get on the call and go, "Hey, we're this or we're that." And it ends up just being like this whole community thing that's just been really cool for client to see it, employee to see it. There's been times where my carpenters have been in Home Depot on a video call. I see the orange racks in the background or something. It's been really cool. It's just part of our culture now.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, and again, you've obviously seen how we love to involve our customers, coming, to our office and being part of that culture. Like there's just something about it. I mean, it not only like, is exciting for the client, but like it's also exciting for our team to be able to see how excited the clients are and how much they appreciate and to hear firsthand the impact that they're making. Because a lot of times, like if you don't find those ways to, to have that shared back to the team, like, aside from, maybe a Google review or a video testimonial or something, like they might not always have that opportunity or maybe only one or two people or project manager or the salesperson, like they heard it and then it's sort of being like shared, third party or, kind of just, shared, secondhand to everyone else. But like, man, anytime you get an opportunity to put your customers directly in communication to share with your whole team, it is like so valuable. I think it's the most valuable thing that you can do to continually motivate and inspire your team when they realize what an impact they're making is. And there's no better way to do that than just let them hear it, raw, fresh, right out of the, right from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, sure. Well, everybody wants to be fulfilled. I want to be fulfilled. I want to know that what I'm doing makes a difference, and so does everybody else. And your and I's job is to create that opportunity so that they can feel fulfilled within their job. And so, doing that, the journey in doing that, and being vulnerable when you screw up or when things aren't going very well, and laying it out there like, guys, I don't know what I just did, I don't know what I'm doing, but I believe that the team that we've created are everybody sees through that, sees through the facade of things and really the heart of what I'm trying to do and what I want to see out of them and the success that I want them to create. And I believe if they'll allow me to, that they'll benefit off of their own accomplishments of their goals, and then the company will do the same thing. And as a result of them accomplishing their goals, the business, the company becomes a beneficiary of their results.
Absolutely. So earlier, you mentioned goal setting. I'd love to dig into that a little bit. How do you go about, thinking about goals, setting those goals, and then tracking them and holding yourselves accountable, celebrating those wins? Like, well, share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm probably a little extreme with it than probably most. I write my goals down every morning and every night. I keep it in front of me. I have a vision board at my office that paints the picture. I keep it always in front of me and I'm looking at it every day. And I feel like a lot of people will write something down and it's just this way out there think that the hope is that you get it, but the reality is it's probably not going to happen. And so by keeping it in front of me every day and then also getting detailed with it, if my goal is to write down or to run a mile, well, that's great. Now, what are you going to do in running a mile? Like, are you going to hire a coach? Or if you want to accomplish a mile, what are the things you got to do? So creating the smart goals of, is it attainable? Is it, measurable? And so I encourage all of my team to do the same thing. We get together. A lot of people call it a performance review. I don't call it a performance review. I think that's a negative, like a negative connotation or a negative understanding where I want to see an impact. And so what can we do and get together so that they can create a runway, they can create some things and put some things in place to make an impact for themselves. And so I bring my manager in with that employee. We share and we talk about what they want to do. And, probably like yourself, if there's something negative going on with an employee, you don't have to wait till a performance review, right? You're going to handle that way before some performance review. So I just take that name out of the equation and I look at it and go, how can we make an impact? What type of goals? What are you going to do to accomplish that? I want to run a mile or run a 5 mile, or I want to do an Ironman, or I want to do whatever that is, and set those simple things. I had one individual say, Michael, I want to learn how to play a guitar. And the opportunity that with him just sharing that, I just happened to have a guitar that I was not even using. He didn't even have a guitar. And I'm like, here's a guitar for you. And when we start sharing our goals, we don't know who in the team can help in assisting with that. And so it becomes a team effort. It becomes very collaborative when we share, when all of us are a part of it. And we know, you never know what sort of resources you have, Eric, that can help me accomplish my goals and vice versa. And so bringing all that together and helping with each individual where it's personal, but also if I know that when I help an individual, just even with accountability in accomplishing a goal, the business really benefits huge out of it as well.
So you're not only helping them set goals, like kind of their own individual goals at work, but also in their personal life?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, like, I don't know anyone that does that. That is awesome. I mean, like, it shows you truly care about the person. And like, yeah, like that right there, Michael, that is why you have people working for you for 19 years, is because like you are, again, like you're not just their boss,
Sure.
You're their friend, you're their coach, you're a life inspiration to them, to encourage them to go and hit their own personal goals. Like, I mean, like, yeah, like there you go, man. Like that, that is awesome. What do you, so what do you call that? If you don't call it a performance review, which I see why now you don't, is it, like, what do you call this meeting? If you had to put it on the schedule, on the calendar, what is it, a goal review meeting, or what do you?
It's, we have just renamed it. I don't even remember the name, Eric. But it's, oh, I can't even remember the name. We just changed the name this week and we had our first employee that we did the one-on-one under that new name. Oh, I wish I would have been prepared to share that with you. Man, I can't even remember.
It'll come to you when we move on, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
It's so neat though. I mean, I love that you do that.
And also, Eric, doing that I believe when I tap into the personal side of an individual, they're also giving me the freedom to push them as well and to keep them accountable and to lean on them hard.
Yeah.
And they see the results on both ends. Michael's here to help, Michael's here to encourage, but Michael's also going to lean on me hard for all of us to accomplish our goals together. You and I both know that this stuff just doesn't happen with ease.
No.
And in order for them to accomplish their personal, their professional, their financial goals, it takes effort. It takes some discipline. It takes momentum. It takes encouragement. It takes accountability. And, probably the biggest thing is probably discipline. And so encouraging them I feel like gives a little bit of freedom to lean on them.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I mean, that's super insightful. So I'm curious, like where, when you think about the growth that you've had and the goals that you have set for the company, like what's the longer term vision here? Where do you want, to grow Michael James Remodeling? Like, where do you see it in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, great question. So our big goal is to, I hate to even put a dollar amount to it because it's not about the dollar amount. Our big goal is to be $100 million company over the next 10 years. But bigger than that is just the impact and the journey that I want to see and the growth that I want to see during that. And right now we have one main office. We've just bought a piece of property to branch out into our second office. I'm already starting to think about our third office and creating this triangle of servicing a bigger area, servicing clients, and then creating this triangle, creating the system for the triangle where I can multiply it into other states. And that's really the big goal. But the journey in that is, with my cycling background, everything goes back to a bicycle. I look at it as a bicycle wheel and us being the hub, but there's so many opportunities. There's all these businesses that can come from the hub. There's all the partnerships that can come from the hub. And if I can raise up individuals that instead of them moving on to start their own business, why not start it together? Why not be a part of the umbrella and we just service clients as a team collectively? And we just become big naturally, and we naturally get to this $100 million goal through just servicing and impacting people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear you on that. It's hard to, and I'm very much with you. Like it's not about the money, but like, revenue is such an easy metric to be able to track that it gives you that benchmark. It gives you that quantifiable thing. Like it can be very difficult to quantify like the impact and how it's like how many lives, I guess you could look at how many projects or things like that, but like it can be hard to kind of set some sort of a quantitative goal without it being that that revenue, but makes total sense. And I love your I think that again that's a grand vision, a grand goal that will force you to spread yourself and create these multiple, locations and service areas. And like, in and of that, you'll have the challenge of now, like, okay, well, where is Michael going to be every day? And like, how do you take and instill that same, leadership that, it sounds like you've already done in your whole leadership team, but like being able to continue to replicate that, and have that same culture and that same feel when you have more and more people in different locations. It's a whole new set of challenges that I'm sure you're up for, but it'll be really interesting to see how that, kind of how you build that out. And obviously, I mean, there's no rush, right? There's no real timeline. It's, again, we're just kind of setting this arbitrary, in the next 10 years, but like, you get to control the speed and how fast. And I'm a big believer in controlled growth is very important. Like, you don't want to, bite off more than you can chew. You don't want to overhire where, again, like you start, sacrificing like quality and maybe you don't have the right people, but you needed to fill the seat because, whatever, you got this office open. Like, so I think it's all about, finding that right pace that you can keep that same high level of quality, the culture, the everything that you've done today in your current space. It'll be really exciting to see you be able to replicate that because obviously you've seen the impact that you've made on all of your clients' lives, your employees' lives, everyone that you guys work for. Yeah, I think it's awesome. And, if you can take that into multiple states, like I have no doubt, Michael, that, just what you have built and even just this conversation right here, like this will inspire people to want to come join your culture and join your company and join, in on this mission that you have set forth because, like, again, like you truly care about the people. And I think that's what inspires people to want to follow others is when they know that that person has their best interest and it's not just about them. It's not just about their ego or feeding their bottom line or their pocket. Like, it's about making an impact on the world around us, and however big or small that world is, like, we all have our own little world around us. And like, when you can truly find fulfillment in giving back and helping others and being part of a larger cause, like that's what brings you joy in life.
Yeah.
It's not that paycheck that you cash, or really it's just automatically deposited, this day and, bills come in and out like that. That's not what life is about. That's not what brings happiness.
Sure.
That's just meeting the bare necessities, to be able to financially live. It's about that fulfillment. And I think being part of your company and being able to work hand in hand with you and your leadership team and your whole team, like that will fulfill so many people. And I can only imagine the experience that your clients have, getting the opportunity to work with you all as well. It's gotta be, it's gotta be awesome.
It's been fun. And, Eric, when we were at your boot camp, and I shared this with you when we talked a little bit, that morning when you shared your steps, your 10 steps, I was like, it's more than a software company. The software company is just a vehicle. The impact that you wanted to make in other entrepreneurs, in your clients, in your team, I was like, I want to follow this guy. I want to be a part of this, not just for the software. There was more. And it was really cool to see the parallel mission and vision that we have as entrepreneurs, that what we're doing is just a vehicle to impact people's lives.
Absolutely. So look, and kind of wrapping up here, I see we're getting close to the top of the hour. Like I'd love for you to share, any advice that you would have for others who are earlier on in their journey. Maybe they just started their company. They're thinking about starting their company. They're, a few years in, whatever it may be. Like, are there any lessons that you've learned that, you wish you would have known earlier on or something that like you would have done differently if you were to start over today? Like what advice would you share to others?
I think the biggest thing is it's never too late to start, regardless of your age, and dream big, write it down. And you're going to have the people already know that you're going to have the people to say, that's dumb, that's stupid, you're not going to make it, that's crazy, don't do it. Let that be fuel. Take that, you can't do it, to be fuel, and just keep pedaling. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Every time there's a failure, just get up. Just know that tomorrow's a new day. Regardless of the discouragement, regardless of whether you think you need to hang it up, just keep moving forward. And if we know the direction that we're going to, that know the end results that we want, then we won't wake up one day in a different location. That's where we're going. That's where we're going to end up. Someone that doesn't have a goal, someone that doesn't have any sort of aspirations or know where they want to go, they're going to end up somewhere that they had not planned. And so know where you want to go.
I love it. Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on, for sharing all of this insight. I mean, this has been one of my favorite podcasts here. You know, it just your wisdom, your leadership, the inspiration, the motivation that you provide to your team, to your clients. I mean, I'm feeling motivated as could be. Like, you know, this is just so exciting, and I really appreciate you, what you do. It's an honor to be just a little fly on the wall here, getting to watch you build this business from the software side. But like, I can't wait to see, you know, how you guys continue to grow, to expand. I have no doubt it's going to be amazing. And yeah, I just thank you for being you, and for everything that you do for the community and for everyone around you. It makes a huge impact, and we're all very grateful.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate the opportunity. Appreciate you being on, and look forward to seeing you soon.
All righty. Have a good one. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.